get specialists in different fields to talk about how to put Lagos and Nigeria in better place. Once again, I thank you all for joining us. Happy Independence. Like we've seen, the agenda for today is simple and it's clear. We have our lead speaker in-house. You're welcome, Mr. Salau. We have all our panelist members here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you're welcome to Eko EnviroTalk, and it's an absolute pleasure and honor to be moderating this show geared towards
recording in progress.
I'll start first by wishing us all a happy independence. By virtue of joining this call, it shows you're all high achievers and are truly concerned about expanding your technical knowledge, or simply just want to learn about improving the narrative of our beloved state and country. God bless Nigeria, and God bless us all. A brief introduction about myself. I'm Wande Seriki, sustainability and climate change professional, passionate about designing holistic pathways for green growth in Africa. One of the numerous ways I believe this can be achieved is by bridging the knowledge gap between human development and sustainable development, thereby creating opportunities for the alternatives or best case scenarios. It will be an absolute pleasure to meet you all. So please go ahead and introduce yourselves using the chat box menu, your name, your affiliated organization, and any other thing you want us to know about you. Thank you all once again for joining this maiden edition of Eko EnviroTalk, particularly focused on environmental impact assessments, the role of practitioners in ensuring sustainable development in Lagos. Without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce to you all the lead speaker for today, in no other person of Mr. Ibrahim Salau. Mr. Ibrahim Salau is an accomplished environmental, social, and energy management expert. He has led, managed, coordinated, and executed numerous environmental social impact assessments projects in Nigeria and across West Africa region. He's a member of the Board of Trustees of the Association of Sustainability Professionals of Nigeria, and also a member of other numerous professional organizations. Mr. Salau teaches environmental and social impact assessments at the Lagos Business School. He's also been an environmental and social governance consultant to the International Finance Corporation, covering the entire sub-Saharan African region. He is the managing director of Environmental Accord Limited, a leading ESI consultancy in Nigeria. Welcome, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon, good evening, or good morning to all of us. I am indeed delighted and honored to share this moment with us. This august occasion of the maiden edition of the EnviroTalk, Eko EnviroTalk series. So the concept of sustainability relates to the word sustain, which means to support for a prolonged period or to keep an effort going continuously. So sustainable development or sustainability is about sustaining, to support for a prolonged period or to keep an effort going continuously. So something that is sustained, that's where that word is from. And then with reference to development in particular, sustainability means to keep society going into the distant future. So we then, of course, a lot of us here that are practitioners, they're very familiar with this definition of sustainable development, which is the Brundtland definition that was introduced to us globally in 1987. So that definition of sustainable development is that development that meets the needs of the present generation.
STEM, everything that we need to stay alive comes from the environment. In fact, I even recommended to Mr. Governor some time back that you better just change the name of the Ministry of Environment to Ministry of Life Support. Okay? So let's get that through our minds. Also, the reality is that it is in grave danger. You only have to listen to the opening session of UNGA, United Nations, last week, where Mr. President and our Minister of Environment were there. What did the Secretary General say? He said that the alarm bell is resounding at a deafening rate. Yeah? That humanity must wake up. Okay? So they are panicking. Scientists who
show impacts of projects on the environment are identified, proper and effective mitigation measures are put in place so that you can either eliminate or mitigate those impacts. So if you have an EIA process that is not achieving that, that is just merely for permitting, then it's a failure. EIA is not designed to just issue EIA certificates or to issue EIA clearance or just issue EIA permit. It's designed to protect the environment from impacts of projects and activities. And you have even moved from just projects now, impacts of policies. And that is why you have the issue of CESA. The impacts of policies of government should also be assessed. The impacts of policy.
And EIA is not, EIA is not meant there for penalty sake or for penalizing anybody. But the EIA is there just to be able to guide you into making sure that the project you are involving yourself with is going to be of benefit.
That actually thinks about waste management being a factor that all of us are involved, then you win people. Dr. Adedayo said we're in all this together. It's not a matter of a business for the private sector or a business for business people. It is for everybody. So you also have to understand when you're talking about citizens not willing to pay for waste services, waste service is not a priority in our country. In developing countries, waste management is not a
really don't have reliable data to understand our waste typologies. I mean, there is a research that shows that each household generates about 1.5 kilograms per day. But I don't agree with that because it depends on where you live and what you do. So what makes that 1.5 kilograms and what makes that volume for me to be able to say, okay, I'm going to gather X amount of this particular waste category for the off-taker that might have it as inputs as a form of raw material to their next production. So if you talk about plastic that everybody is now going into collecting, for instance, not everybody can use a particular type of plastic because of the resin makeup. So we don't have enough data to actually show the waste typology. Some just want the organic waste. Some just...
Recently, we know that in Lagos State, for example, for you to be able to be a PSP, collector, you have to have a compactor. And that is huge investment. Not just the compactor, the huge investment when it comes to machinery. You also have to look at maintenance. You also have to look at funds, availability of funds. Do we have green funds? Do we have banks that are willing to give loans at lower interest rates? Do we have grants for people that are going into green businesses? So these are some of the reasons why some private sectors are not, going into waste management businesses or ideas. However, I will also say that
about comparing and using compartment that can accommodate, certain, sorting of waste. Then again, the waste pickers needs to be trained because the exposure level even now is alarming. And just like the lady from Loma said, there is no information even about their health situation, their health status. And it calls for concern because there are so many unemployed youth out there who are looking for what to do. And I keep saying that there are a lot of opportunities in waste management, especially in a place like Lagos, where the...
Thank you very much to our panelists. It has been a very engaging period. I have a general question and I have a very one specific question that comes from the question and answer section. The first one to Loma. Waste bins are basically on most major roads in Lagos State, most especially within market vicinities. Apart from them causing traffic, they cause a lot of environmental nuisance. One of our participants was able to give a statistics of the number of waste bins on Lagos Road, and the statistic is alarming. So if you have waste bin close to market on major roads, they cause traffic, and the waste are not covered, that causes rat infestation, which is a problem. What is Loma plan of moving? Because market waste, market is an institution. Market is not an household. So if waste can be managed properly in Unilag, market can also manage their waste properly. So that is for the Loma rep. That's one. The general question to all our panelists: what are the creative ideas? You know, it can be an intellectual property if you want to make it like that. But what do we think we should do? We've seen what Unilag is doing. Unilag is managing their waste properly. Can't we just take Unilag as a microset in every institution? We have LASUDIE, we have LASPOTEC, we have Yabatech, we have a lot of institutions, and we have estates. So don't let us take it as Unilag. Let's take it as a microset. Estates can also be taken as a microset as Unilag is. Yabatech, if you take the population of Yabatech, population of LASPOTEC, population of LASU, population of each of the schools, we are removing a volume of waste away from the general waste. And that's what I think we can discuss if any one of us can just speak onto that. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Climate change is probably one of the major threats to human development after industrial revolution. Today, the impact of climate change can be felt whether in developing country or the developed world. Years ago, the Lake Chad is over 440,000 square meters. Now it is less than 1,300 square meters. The impact of climate change on our livelihood, it's something that can be visible to everybody. From coastal erosion in Lagos, the desertification in the upper north part of the country, the impact of climate change is visible. As a fast-growing megacity, Lagos is becoming vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. From social to the economic and to the security threats, Lagos cannot just wait and look without doing anything about climate change. That is why we are here today to discuss the impact of climate change and how it will affect the state. Let me welcome each and every one of us to the third edition of Eko EnviroTalk, an environment talk series about Lagos and the way to make the state better. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this edition of Eko EnviroTalk lecture series for this year. And it's an absolute pleasure to be moderating this show, jet towards achieving environmental sustainability in Lagos. At this juncture, that I introduce myself, Wande Seriki, and I'm your moderator for today. Please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box below. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you all. So please use the chat box section to introduce yourselves. If you have any question, please use the Q&A section to put your questions in there in the course of the conversation. This third edition of Eko EnviroTalk is focusing on COP26 Glasgow Pact, Lagos Plan Towards Climate Action. Well, this is Odeneyema. With the attendance of climate change in Lagos, we already know that air quality is an issue for Lagos. And we know that Lagos has made tremendous success in this regard. Would you please highlight on the success and where you believe that there's room for improvement? So beyond what we've done, how can we even begin to leap? Because now we've heard it already from Prof that our development pathways.
Scientists mean we're solution providers, and it means that we research. And like Prof said, we've tried a few things, some have worked, some haven't worked. So we need to move on to the level of the ones that have worked, we improve on them. So like I know that there was a time that LASEPA launched a vehicle, a hybrid. So we're trying a few things and seeing that if we don't use fossil fuel, we are saving some money on diesel, now that diesel is expensive. And then we can also move to electric cars. The Lamata buses can run on CNG, and then from there, electricity. And we'll find that it'll be cheaper. It will provide more jobs for people. The green jobs are even safer. I'm also a safety professional. We found out that the fossil fuels and the coal and all that we're using, they create a lot of hazards and deaths. So if we move on to new greener jobs, it'll be safer for us and they will create more jobs.
The question here is from Mayowa Fashiono. One key to addressing the climate change challenge is integration. How and when is Lagos State going to start mainstreaming implementation of climate actions across the MDAs?
Climate change or climate crisis cuts across every aspect of development and therefore cannot be treated as climate change. And I think that's where the challenge is. The Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources in Lagos cannot handle issues of climate change alone. It has to be seen as a holistic, integrated approach in which, just like you have last time or whatever you want to call it, or waste management, let's have something specific that will be using climate change as an entry point to address a number of issues in various sectors. And that the government of Lagos State will put substantive amount of resources beyond just policies, beyond just action plans, beyond just advocating, to practical solutions, which leads to the thing that I want to end with. Whatever we do in Lagos State, I think Lagos State governor has a very critical role to play. Lagos State is one of the last states that will receive the effects of extreme events in many parts of the country. All the rivers coming from Oyo and all the rest will end up in Lagos through Ogun. All the rivers in order that it ends up in Cross River and all the rest. So all those coastline states need to work together and convince the government that individual actions by each state will not solve the problem. If you cut your emission in Lagos State, and my state, Kwara State, continues to emit, the climate change does not know that Kwara State is the one increasing the carbon content of the air. The air doesn't know when it's over Kwara State. It doesn't know when it's over Lagos State. So if we don't join hands together to really address the issue of climate change holistically for the whole country, in fact, for the whole West Africa, we are wasting our time, because whatever you do in Lagos cannot really mitigate and adapt completely to what is being done in Kwara, being done in Ogun, being done in other places. So what do I want to do? I want, just like the governor is campaigning for things, use the government governance forum or national state council, what they call it, to advocate the need to address the issue of climate change holistically for the whole country, which every state.
The first thing that we need to know, we have done some studies to determine what and what needs to be done. But one thing that we need to do aggressively now is to educate people.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Professor. Sir, thank you very much. Our PS, Mr. Bankole, we thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Eko EnviroTalk. Thank you for joining us for the 4th edition in the series. The world cities are going under the sea, and it is very, very important for global leaders, individuals, government officials, and researchers to do something to protect coastal cities. Today, we are discussing on a very major, important topic affecting Lagos and also some of the coastal cities around the world. Some 800 million people will be exposed to sea level rise and subsurge. Over 550 cities will be affected if the coastal erosion or the sea level rise increases more than the projected by the world experts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this edition of Eko EnviroTalk lecture series. Our dialogue today is focusing on the impact of sea level rise and coastal erosion on Lagos communities, the way forward. And it's my pleasure to be moderating this show, Jet Towards Achieving Environmental Sustainability in Lagos.
The important thing we have to bear in mind is our coastline. The coastline is the most important area in every country. The coastline determines our territorial seas, our extended continental shelf, our EEZ, that is our exclusive economic zone, and our contiguous zones. The coastline is where we measure all these things. So if we have to perform any activity offshore, we have to know our coastline and measure from there to the southwards to determine these various important areas where future economic activities will be taking place. Our shorelines are shifting, meaning our coastline is shifting inland, and that is not very good. Whatever we have to do to protect our shorelines, our coastline, we have to find ways and means to do it. Because when we have increase in levels of water, it will destruct or it will destroy our coastline. It will impact on our socio-economic activities. Our vegetation will be lost, communities will be displaced, and their economic activities will be lost.
To the issue of inundation, there are a couple of things that are needed, but I think the very first is a very detailed base map, right, of infrastructure and resources. So in that coastal area. So there has to be, and I'm aware that the Lagos state government did invest at one point to create a fairly detailed map base for Lagos. I mean, the intent was mostly for I think the driving force at that time was for tax generation, property tax assessment and generation. But once a map like that exists,
we've come to the end of this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and to all our participants who have always joined. We're deeply grateful for your contributions, and to our panel members, thank you very much. To everyone, thank you again for joining. Goodbye and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 1-year review for the anniversary. Now, welcome back. Now go to the moderator, please.
Good evening, everybody. You're welcome to today's edition, the first anniversary edition. We're so grateful that you have joined us today, and we're extremely happy that we're actually hitting this landmark of the event. Happy Independence to you all, and you're welcome to this first anniversary edition of Eko EnviroTalk webinar series. Our dialogue for today is focusing on environmental and socio-economic impacts of street trading in Lagos, social problem or economic getaway. Just in case this is your first time joining the show, Eko EnviroTalk is a platform created to promote environmental sustainability in Lagos. It's my pleasure to be moderating this show, and I hope you're ready for today. A brief introduction about myself. I'm Wande Seriki, a sustainability and climate change professional, passionate about designing holistic pathways for green growth in Africa. One of the numerous ways I believe this can be done is by bridging the knowledge gap between human development and sustainable development, thereby creating opportunities for best case or alternative scenarios. I know that you all have been introducing yourself, but if you have just joined, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box menu. We'll be delighted to meet you. Next on the agenda is we'll be taking some goodwill messages from our sponsors, and we have them here in our midst. The first goodwill message will be taken from a representative from Techno Oil, Gas Tourmaline, and Bash Oil in that sequential order. Thank you. Mr. Lasisi, shall we make them panelists so that they can go ahead and give their goodwill messages?
Yeah, Mr. Taiwo, you're on.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Igokwe, you can go ahead while we wait for Mr. Taiwo, please. Mr. Igokwe, you can go ahead while we wait for Mr. Taiwo.
Sir, could it be that Mr. Igbokwe is having issues unmuting himself? Shall we unmute him, if that is possible from our end?
It's coming, it's having noise in this area, so it's just...
Okay.
So he will join us now, sorry. Mr. Taiwo Afolabi, you are also on, please.
Okay, can I be heard now?
We can hear you, Mr. Taiwo, loud and clear.
Okay, good. So sorry. It's been on and off in terms of network connectivity. So sorry about it. So, Mr. Lasisi, I'm speaking as a representative of the sponsor, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. It's just a goodwill message from us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good message, sir.
I think we've lost him again, sir.
Mr. Ibokwe, you can. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr.
Good
Ibokwe, you can go
afternoon.
ahead while we wait for Mr. Taiwo. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. My name is Ibokwe. I'm a representative of Gas Terminaling and the subsidiary of our Eko Energy Holdings. And we just want to say it's an honor to be associated with your works. And we are glad that you engaged us to be part of this wonderful exercise. And we want to say you're doing a good work. And from our own side, as much as we can, we would like to continually have this relationship with you so that your work will keep growing, because I know that it will make a very positive impact in our society, especially when it comes to the raising environmental awareness and driving good practice to have a good sustainable practice when it comes to our engagement with the environment. So on behalf of Gas Terminaling and our holding company, Eko Energy, we want to say well done and God's blessings on your further and future engagements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I don't know if Mr. Taiwo is available now, or we can just move ahead.
Mr. Taiwo, are you available? You are on.
Okay, sir, he's not in the panelist section, so.
Let's move on.
Okay. According to WIT, the term street trading, we're referring to a specific activity among the informal economy, is accurate only when it describes the physical presence of traders operating from the streets. What it does not do is elaborate on the intricate and diverse economic interest and employment relationships within any particular subsector on the streets. Neither does it capture the distinctive patterns of the wide range of actors operating in the sector, as there are a world of difference between a woman in an upscale market flea trading in a niche antique or luxury goods and a woman in the survivalist sector trading in fruits and vegetables produced by someone else. Without much further ado, it's my delight to introduce to you our panel, our lead speaker for today, who is Dr. Ayobade. She's a senior lecturer and the immediate past coordinator of Diploma in Social Development and Administration, and currently the coordinator of Institute of Continuous Education part-time undergraduate program in the Department of Social Work, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Lagos. Her academic interests include social work, industrial social work, industrial sociology, cultural studies in the area of Nigerian heritage, indigenous and informal small business enterprises, amongst the numerous. She has conducted several research studies and published in reputable local and international academic journals. She's also the principal investigator and a recipient of research grants funded by the University of Lagos to study socioeconomic factors influencing the coping mechanisms of street traders in Lagos State, which is still ongoing. A recipient of the Best Paper Award, Track 1, Informal and Social Entrepreneurship Session with £200 cash gifts. You're welcome, Ma. We're delighted to have you today. You have the floor.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Ma. You can share your screen, Ma. Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to share PowerPoint or I send it to you?
Whichever works for you, ma'am. If you can.
I'll send it to Mr. Lasisi right away.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for the lead speaker to get her presentation, I would just engage us while we're waiting for that. I would like us to just think about.
I'll send it to Mr. Lasisi so you can share from that end.
Okay, ma'am. So we'll just wait for him to project the screen for you.
Please help me to inform him.
He's on, ma, so he can also hear us.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Ọ̀gbẹ́ni.
Hello, ma, you can start with the preambles. So.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody, and it's a nice thing to be in your midst this afternoon. Well, I am interested in street trading issues because I was also a former street hawker and the daughter of a street trader. And when I started my academic endeavor, I found out that I was showing interest in the area of entrepreneurship, specifically small businesses, and narrowing down to street trading. Informal economic activity as an umbrella of street trade has been the subject of serious controversy. Local authorities try to raise restrictions to control street trade in developing nations, but it has not been successful, such as Lagos State. Authorities were perturbed as street trade was increasing yearly in developing nations. Street traders face tensions with persistent attempts by authorities to relocate them away from central cities, such as Lagos mega city. First, informal street trade is seen to be in conflict with the ideology of preserving the beauty of cities. Secondly, street traders were creating some unwanted competition for formal retailers. Thirdly, they are regarded as a threat to public health and clean environments. Despite the existence of multiple street trading regulations in Lagos State, millions of traders have remained on the street. Why? We have several policies, we have several agencies to control the activities of street trade, but they are increasing by the day. More of concern to us is the review of the Lagos Street Trading and Illegal Market Law, which imposes punishment on both buyers and sellers. As several educated and uneducated Nigerians living in Lagos are still patronizing street vendors in different parts of Lagos, then the issue becomes a challenge. The question then is, why do street vendors defy the law to remain within the environment in the urban space? There was an outcry when a BRT knocked down a street trader on Wednesday, 29th June 2016 by around 9:27 p.m. that led to street protests and subsequent vandalization of government vehicles across the state. The outrage of this action compelled Lagos State government under former Governor Akinwumi Ambode to make up his mind and henceforth enforce the ban on street trading in the city of Lagos. Government action was based on a series of reports of deaths of young traders in Lagos Street along the highways. Relying on the 2003 Street Trading and Illegal Market Law, the state government stated that henceforth, both buyers and sellers will be culpable. Unlike before, they fix a fine of 90,000 or whoever is found wanting or buying on the street. The state further empowered the Lagos State Environmental Corps to confiscate goods, seize it, and then auction it. In the process of enforcing this law, a good number of traders were arrested in Lagos, while some were prosecuted, and many of them escaped justice by bribing task force officials or hiding their jobs. There are three categories of street traders in Lagos State. We have the hawkers on the street or in traffic on the highways, those stationed by roadsides, and then villagers that comes once a week in specific location on specific days. Based on the issues above, is street trading a social problem or an economic getaway? Why are we studying this street trading? We are studying this street trading because of the complete ban or eradication of street traders in Lagos State. That is the main rationale behind this study. And despite this ban, I found out that my bread seller still comes to my house. My plantain seller still comes to my house. They still bring goods to my compound. What's their coping mechanism? How do they evade the law? That's the essence of studying of conducting this study we conducted. Why we put up some specific objective to assess the street trading and illegal market law, examine the influence of poverty on unemployment, family pressure, migration and location of street traders in compliance with the Lagos State street trading laws, determine if bribing task force officials, as in largest officials, enable street traders to evade arrest, and also investigate if trading is a social problem or an economic getaway to the society. Then provide possible solutions to street trader use of urban space in Lagos State. Now, street trading is a global phenomenon. There's no city or country that has succeeded in eradicating street trading. So our own can never be an exception. We cannot succeed in eradicating street trading. There are a lot of literature reviews in that area, but I want to go straight to the benefit of street trading. In as much as the authorities of government or government authorities are saying that they want to prohibit, they want to ban street trading, I'll tell you that it is not possible, because Street trading plays a vital role in the supply of goods and services in urban cities. What street traders sell benefit those who produce or create those goods. Since they tend to sell local items, they contribute to the local economy. Street vendors are an important link between rural farmers and the urban customers. Street traders create jobs for low-income people as they provide them with employment benefit because some of their earnings remain in the bottom of the economic pyramid. These street traders buy local products and make them available throughout the city, thereby increasing sales that benefit both the producers of these goods as well as the vendors. Government that legalizes street trading benefit from licensing fees, levies, and sometimes taxes. They tax them. Otherwise, the fees for use of space simply go to political or other element that controls access to public places, such as the area boys. Farmer stores access their products outside local communities, oftentimes out of the country, and move their profit out as well, so that the local gains little or nothing, as opposed to the benefit of small shops and by extension, street vendors. Street trading as a social problem. Street trading as a social problem. The issue that needs to be addressed is that of making street traders become more hygienic. I agree with state authorities by saying they actually pollute, dirty the environment because they don't dispose their waste appropriately. Affected by this are traders selling perishable food items who do not properly dispose of their baskets and containers after the day sales. They pile and litter the environment with junks. Traders must be clean and hygienic in whatever they are doing and be mandated to tidy up the bucket after each day sales. Levies being collected from street traders give cause for concern. There's no specific group handling this kind. Multiple taxes on street traders, different tickets in Lagos State. Different groups and agencies, including miscreants, collect levies from them and no much to show for this collection of levies by way of improvement or orderliness in the environment. Street trading as economic getaway. In as much as they are contributing to the economy, they should not be eradicated or eliminated. The popular Sunday market is a concept that operates globally. Every city, every modern city, they have something similar to what we call Sunday market, but they have designated locations. The same idea could also be duplicated in Lagos State on a large scale than is being done now. They are part and parcel of people generating ideas and revenue for Lagos State. So they only need to be regulated to prevent them from doing things haphazardly. Let's go straight to methodology. This study was funded by University of Lagos Central Research Committee, and it is a study that is being called by 3 researchers, of which I am the principal investigator. And we studied 6 local governments and 1 local government as the pilot study. We studied Badagry as the pilot study, while we study other 6 local governments for the main study. And at the end of the day, we set out to interview 900 respondents, but at the end of 900 for quantitative and 300 for qualitative. 300 from each senatorial district, because we studied 3 senatorial districts, but at the end of the day, we succeeded in interviewing 894 respondents. And we use multi-stage sampling. Let me not bore you with the research jargons. Let me not bore you with that. Ethical issues were observed, multi-stage sampling. Pilot study was done. Data analysis, we analyzed it using SPSS. Descriptive statistics were used to present some of the findings, while chi-square was used to test the influence of socio-economic factors on deviance to the Lagos State street trading law. We tested the hypothesis, and we found out that There is no relationship between poverty and evasion of arrest. There is no relationship between unemployment and evasion of arrest. There is no relationship between migrant status and evasion of arrest. There is no relationship between family pressure and evasion of arrest by task force. There is also no relationship by the gender of the street trader and evasion of arrest. And there is also no relationship by the level of education and evasion of arrest by the task force. The qualitative, the result shows
I think we lost her, sir.
Yeah, I think so. So maybe we'll wait while she reconnects.
Okay.
While we wait for Madam to get back to us, we know that network issues can be very doubting in this part of the world, most especially during rainy season. And we've been able to get a view of what the study by the UNILAC team is all about. And basically, from what she has said, street trading, it's not only a Lagos issue, it's a global phenomenon. And however, because some of the economic benefits to the people that are involved in it, there are lots of social and environmental impacts that street trading is all about. I think she's trying to reconnect.
Hello?
Yeah, madam, we can. Yeah,
Hello?
you can continue, ma'am. Yeah, we are with you, ma'am. You can continue, ma'am.
I don't know what really happened.
Yeah, it's
the thing went off.
Yeah, it's network. You can continue, ma'am.
Just give me a minute, ma'am, so that I can share your screen again, the slides for you again, ma'am.
Okay. So let's go to the results. The migrant status, poverty, and unemployment are significantly related now to the evasion of arrest by street traders, bribing of officials, because the study shows that those motivated into street trade business by poverty and unemployment are more likely to evade arrest than their counterparts. Bribing of officials, the study shows that if they have ever been arrested, we found out that most of them have been arrested. In fact, we come across a particular respondent that has been arrested 3 times and has been sent to 3 months in prison, yet he resumed back to the street because we met him on the street. Hiding of goods. Yes, they hide their goods. They agree that they hide their goods because they have a way of knowing when the largest officials will come for their raiding. They have their own representative that are liaising with the largest officials, so they know when they are coming for raiding, and on that very day, they will not display their goods by the roadside. So, the study found that the way the law of Lagos State defines street trading is different from the way most people define it. Why most people say virtually all street traders are violators of the law? The law emphasizes that only those who trade in unauthorized areas are violators of the law. The study also found that why most people believe that only the state government can designate a market for trade. Lagos State trading and illegal market law actually gives the local government some powers over the control of street trading. Street traders are vulnerable to bribery and extortion. Yeah, the study found that most street traders maintain their presence in urban spaces by bribing their way into the system. They do this either in cash or in kind. For the ladies, using the urban space in kind is the easiest way of escaping the arrest of state officials, as most of our respondents that are into such confess to the fact that they establish sexual relationship with the officials, so that when they are coming for raiding, they will tell them all, even if they see them, they will not be arrested. They use their body to do that. However, the study shows that both men and women will be asked to pay a bribe in order to be left off the hook of the law. Gender differences in bribing the official. The study shows the age of the business, understanding of the process of navigating the system, and nature of the street trading could have an effect on whether someone will be arrested by the officials or not. For instance, some of the traders interviewed stated that syndicates exist that helps them to negotiate with the police, task force officials, and the area boss. They have syndicates in virtually all junctions and all bus stops in this Lagos, and they usually collect their bribes on Fridays. This syndicate collects weekly contributions and subsequently hand them over to the officials of government. And this arrangement exists irrespective of gender or street traders across the state. The study found that ladies who refuse sexual advances of officials of government could be exposed to physical assault, of which I have a picture of a lady that has been thoroughly assaulted in Lagos Island, where a lady showed her interviewers bruises and marks of where she was seriously brutalized, ready to run tactics by highway vendors. The study shows that virtually every highway trader is exposed to the strategy of ready to run because of the risk of being arrested is very, very high. What is the policy implications? The study has shown that there are other factors shaping traders' compliance with the law, such as poverty and the challenge of unemployment with the youth. It's also established that though the presence of law enforcement agencies deter traders, but it also encourages them to pay bribes in order to remain in the urban space. It is therefore necessary for government to review the law so that they accommodate new trends in street trading regulations, especially on the rights of the traders in the city. It's also necessary for the government to focus more on skill acquisition, employment creation, and systematic management of urban space as obtained in advanced country. The study has shown that there are other factors shaping traders' compliance with the law, such as poverty. I think I have read this. I've done that. Okay. Such as poverty and the challenge of employment among youth establishes that it established that to the officers in order to remain in urban space, though the presence, okay, yes, I've not done that. Conclusion and recommendation. You see, when we went across Lagos State, when we were about to be given this grant, the committee were of the view that we might not see traders to interview. For those people that are hawking or shorting in between traffic to sell their goods, how will you sit them down and be interviewing them? We now told them that we've conducted a pilot study and they were really willing because they are seeing us as an intermediary between them and government. That was the way they see us. They view us as a solution to the problem of brutalization, oppression, all these oppressive policies. That's the way they saw us. And they were willing. In fact, we got more than what we bargained for on the street. So my own idea, the street traders are still everywhere, which means the policy is not achieving its purpose. That is the truth. Street trading policy needs complete overhaul. It needs to be reviewed, as eradication is impossible because we cannot eradicate, but can only regulate them. The number of street traders in Lagos State will reduce if other state governors, as in governors from other states, rise up to their own task, which will in turn enable Lagos State to have peace. I actually used to have pity on Lagos State government because they are overstretched and they are overtaxed. But in their governors forum, they have a place they call governors forum, where all governors of Nigeria meet and they used to have president or chairman. I think whatever is working for Lagos State should sell the template, or not selling, as in hand over the template that is working for their own state to other state governors. They should be their brother's keeper. They should mentor their fellow governors in other states so that when other states are functioning, when other states are actually making the type of progress migrant claims Lagos State is maintaining, then there will be less pressure. Migration will reduce. Migrants from other states will not need to come to Lagos State. That is very expensive, even to acquire accommodation to pay for rent. It's not cheap. But if they remain in their state, they can be using their family house. They can still be staying in their family house and still be relevant, while their government will be working to make life meaningful for them. Lagos State should take this as a matter of priority to play the big brother's role for other state governors, because other states must work. Every day when you get to beggar and see the number of luxurious bus bringing people to Lagos State, you will pity Lagos State. But if you compare with those people that are living Lagos State, they are very minimal. Old people are the ones living Lagos State. The youths are not living. They are increasing by the second. So instead of Lagos State paddling their own canoe alone, they should carry other governors along. There should be a collaboration between Lagos State governor and other states in all the areas that Lagos State is leading by discouraging migrants into Lagos State. Since street trading or street traders are also contributing to the economy of Lagos State, they should not be totally eliminated. They are part and parcel of people generating revenue for Lagos State. So they only need to be regulated, to be controlled, so that this will prevent them from doing things in a very dirty way or in a way that contradicts the mega city policy. Having listened to all the argument above, I now conclude that street trading is not a social problem at all. It's not a social problem, but an endeavor with a huge economic advantage. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Ma, for a well-delivered presentation. I can't just, I've just marveled because of the depth of the study. You know, it is only people who are, we see street traders as just an obstacle to urban development, but from the study we can see that they are more to that. Thank you very much, Ma. So on behalf of the Board of Eko EnviroTalk, we want to thank you and your team for doing a very great work for us. Ladies and gentlemen, as a recap for what Madam have just done, street trading is not only for rural area, it's also a phenomenon that is global. It's a global issues that cuts across both developing and developing nations, and thereby there are benefits of street trading. You know, like we've heard, it plays a vital role for marketing. And like I said, marketing, because most of the companies are also catching in on it. Most of the products that are supposed to be shelf products, they decided to do them in smaller places so that people can buy them on the go. So street trading is also a vital tool for marketing. It's a link between the rural and the urban. For farmers, it's a link, and also it creates jobs. If you look at the statistics, street trading creates jobs for a lot of youths, and it's also gives benefits to government. A lot of local governments across the world. In the UK, there are street trading fees. In the US, there are street trading fees. So it's not only about Lagos, it creates fees and licensing fees for both government and the people. In the study in Lagos, the study was carried out in 6 local governments across various senatorial districts, and the result is alarming. The result is alarming, how the street trader evade arrest, the bribing of officials, how they hide their goods, even to the extent that the ladies are even willing to gratify and just make themselves available, all in the process of putting bread on the table. Like it's human survival instincts. Every human being wants to do the best to keep surviving. So if I can't part away with my money, I can do what God gives me. So it's very, very alarming. That's something that government and social advocates should look into. What are the policy implications for the study? Government should review the law. Yes, we need to review the law. If something is becoming norm, let's see how we can make it part of our society. Government should do more into skill acquisition. Government should do more into skill acquisition. If people get skill and they have required knowledge, people will not take street trading as the leaping ground. I see a lot of people, I know a lot of people who start with street trading, and today they have a lot of big business. On the final note, there should be collaboration between state governor, state government, most especially states. Lagos State should pioneer where other states, surrounding states around Lagos, can be co-opted in making the state livable for us. Thank you, madam, for a well-delivered paper. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
To you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that recap. Definitely an enlightening presentation there delivered by Dr. Ayobade. So now we're taking like a 2 minutes recess from this, and I will be projecting my screen. So once again, I'd say enjoy. Fastest fingers. Thank you. We are now in the panel session for today. Our first panel member for today is Professor Onipede. Professor Onipede holds a PhD in sociology from the University of Ibadan with a specialization in demography and population studies. He's currently a professor of sociology in Department of Sociology, Faculty of Social Sciences, Lagos State University, Ojo. He's taking part in many local and international conferences and has authored articles in both local and international journals. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. You're welcome. Our second panel member. Thank you very much, sir. Our second panel member for today is Mr. Arigbabu Sulaiman Olawale. He has worked in the development sector for over 23 years with experience across human rights, environmental justice, food security, climate change, and a host of others. He has robust skills in policy design, advocacy, and campaigns at all levels of governance. He is a member governing council of Lagos State College of Health Technology, LASCO-HEP, and was also a national executive member of the Transition Monitoring Group. He is an NGO designated contact person to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, and the Green Climate Fund. He's currently the Executive Secretary and Head Environmental and Sustainable Development Program at HEDA Resource Center. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir. And our last panel member is Mr. Ushi Faso. He is a Deputy Director and Assistant Court Marshal with Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Corps, popularly known as KAI. He holds a bachelor degree in pure chemistry. Before his present post, he has been the head of the following departments: Environmental Service, Operations, and Provost at his organization. He has over 20 years working experience with various MDAs in Lagos State. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ushi Faso Oluwasegun Shakiru. You're welcome, sir. And Dr. Ayobade would also be joining the panel session.
Thank you. Can our panelists please put on their, can we put face to our panelists, please? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Prof, I'll be starting with you, sir. If you could shed more light, why does street trading remain chaotic in Lagos, despite the fact that there's a policy in place, and even with the research that Dr. Ayobade has conducted with her team, why do we still see that this has still remained chaotic? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Rwande Seriki. As the researcher, Dr. Adebowale, their research report, hinted on this. The fact is there are numerous factors, but critical ones include the fact that Lagos is the attraction center. Whether you are skilled or you are not skilled, wherever you are in Nigeria, it's happening in Lagos, and everybody wants to come. And when they come in, they cannot fit it into the formal job markets, even though the formal job market is depleting, it's almost gone, but everybody will still want to come to Lagos. And when they get in, they have to survive. That instinct, it gets them involved in so many things. In fact, when you get to somewhere around Ikotun, I was there at a point in time and I observed how, wise, intelligent these street traders are. So that is one. And secondly, it is also the fact that the implementation of the policy is very weak. Policy implementation is a major problem in this part of the world. And because of official corruption, it's difficult to keep, these people, though I will not even support the idea of eradicating or removing them completely, because there is no part of the world where you will not find these people. All we need is regulation. But because the regulation is not there, the implementation is weak, and because people keep coming, I think it said some years ago, over 800,000 people migrate into Lagos every year. Well, that was many years ago, so over 800,000. Migration is not just moving in. People who move in to stay at least 6 months. So if you're having such people and they are not qualified to fit into the formal job market, so they find an alternative. That's why it's chaotic. And not only that, there are several people involved in collection of fees. When you observe at major streets, you see this ID card, see that ID card, see this ID card. So quite chaotic. Because the government is not playing its role as expected, government officials, as a result of corruption and bribe here and there. So everybody, you see many people, levy collectors. So this turn the whole thing chaotic, but it can be organized, it can be regulated, it can be made quite useful if the regulations are quite implemented the way they should, and then we can get the best out of street trading while still keeping the negative part of it under control. I don't know if you want me to continue, I'll continue. Can I stop for now? Or I should continue?
Yes, maybe just a follow-up question to that. You've mentioned that policy implementation is weak, and yet that is probably why we have different collection fees are also, it's done haphazardly. Yes, quite chaotic. Any suggestions that you can prefer to the government on how to probably harness this effort, which might help to improve the policy implementation, because the fees are definitely useful for the government as well. So what suggestions would you prefer to streamline collection and implementation if there is a meeting point here? Thank you, sir.
I think you have already used the word streamline. There is need for us to organize even levy collection. It is important levy collection is done, but it should be done in a formalized way. What I observe in most part of Lagos State is you see this fellow with one kind of ID card, and many times you cannot even count the number of ID cards. You see people hanging and then collecting this or that. Their latas, they have their own. Those who do this, they have their own. It's so quite chaotic. If it is streamlined, like in the UK, you know that for you to be involved in street trading, it's not a crime, but you have to be licensed. So if you are licensed, you do it in line with the rules and regulations that have been well explained to you at the point of getting the license. And if that is done, I think we may achieve some kind of moderate result, because as long as the population problem remains, we will not be able to achieve what cities like in United Kingdom, developed world have achieved. But we have to first also deal with our population to a large extent. We cannot say people should not come into Lagos State. That will be difficult in the federal system. But the fact is, we should regulate the way things are done, the way the fees are collected, streamline everything, and let it be done formally. I think that to a large extent will reduce the stress that we are having with street trading. It may not be able to eradicate everything, because the population problem is a huge one that will remain as long as Nigeria, continue to pay lip service to population control to a large extent.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to pick up from your last statement about population control. And I know that Mr. Igbabu is, in his profile, he is a human rights activist. So I'm coming to you, sir. Will you advocate for the restriction of commercial activities to designated spaces, considering the fact that this would probably impede on human activities, it would restrict people's, it would lead to constraints of people's livelihoods and activities? So would you advocate for a restriction on street trading to designated places? I mean, we've already heard that it's a problem in all countries. It can be completely eradicated, but there should be some form of regulation, and they should be done in designated places. What would you have to say to that, sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's first start that street trading is a phenomenon in all countries, I can say. But I'm not sure exactly if it's really that a problem in a number of properly organized countries. I visited a few street trades, street trading places outside of Nigeria, and in an environment where things are done by the law. So some of the features of street trading in Nigeria that we see are not the same in those places. One, you find places where areas are designated for street trading. So you go to London, you go to the Netherlands, you go to some places, they have areas and dedicated days so that people can do their trading. This is not to say that all of the so-called advanced countries have overcome the problem of street trading nuisance, but it's not as chaotic as we are having here. But straight to your question, it's going to be difficult, but it must be the destination, because we cannot run away from the fact that street trading has its nuisance issues that must be dealt with. And some of those nuisance issues actually create bigger problems for society. So one of it, for instance, is you find situations where people sell drugs along the streets. And also you find situations where people sell illicit, well, let me not say illicit, but they sell alcohol in places where alcohol should not be. For instance, Lagos has a law that you don't sell alcohol near parks. So you don't sell alcohol near school. People just take a few steps away from the gate of the school or the gate of the park and set up there. So the nuisance value is there. So our desire should be, how do we get to that destination where street trading is accommodated within the confines of the law that protects the environment, that protects civility, the laws that protect human health, and all of that. So that's one. We also cannot eradicate it because often we are not proactive. So if there's this balance in Lagos that people who work in ShopRite eat at shop left. So that means most workers, who work at ShopRite cannot afford to eat in the restaurant. In the ShopRite, how much is their salary? So they need a shop left near them where they can, find something within their pocket, within their means. And you will see the same thing when you go to Eko Eko, Victoria, and some of these our eyebrow areas. And that's what has happened to also Ikeja GRE. The people in these areas have staff, domestic staff, both those who come and go and those who live in. And they have visitors who are not of their class, who will not be brought to their table to eat. All of these people need people to service them. And that's why you find the illegal development of certain selling corners. I must commend the researchers from our first presenter for the work they did. And I would like to also request that perhaps in follow-up efforts in that research area, they should also look at the aspect of street trading in terms of corner shops, which is what we knew growing up. Every street has some form of corner shop or the other. But late 80s, when we had the incidents of SAP and into the 90s, it became a madness. Nearly every house in urban spaces in Lagos have a shop attached to them, and many of these sell everything and anything. And they stop you from parking. You come to the neighborhood to visit, you cannot park in their front. Once it's evening, they put their chairs on the street because they sell probably things that require people to see. So there's a lot of violation of other people's rights. However, we cannot totally restrict, but we must have an aspiration as a society that things will be brought into being orderly. And I give you an example of where such proactive measure is taken. If you go to the military barracks, for instance, well, at least those that I've visited in the past, I've not visited any in the last 8 years, but in the past, you do not have every corner in a military barracks having somebody selling this or that. They have what you call the Mami market. So what it means is that for every new development that we are having, we should anticipate there are people who will come to visit, people who will come to work, people will be living in and working but not invited to the table of the family, who will require services. If it's a working environment, most of the people earning their salary in that area may not be able to afford to eat in the relatively much priced food vendors around there. So we need to have a proactive measure to provide a space that is deliberately designed, that is properly maintained, that people can come in and that is affordable. Because another issue in why there's proliferation of street trading, especially around our markets where you have official stalls that are not taken up and the streets are littered with informal sellers, is the fact that most times they are not as affordable. So some of these issues we need to be proactive about if we want to deal with the issue of street trading. But most importantly is that we need to deal with those aspects of street trading that poses further danger to proper existence of society.
Thank you very much, sir. You've really unpacked a lot in the non-availability for our household staff to be able to afford things that services around us, even for those that live in highbrow area, has always been a cause of concern for me particularly, because I see that this is one of the major issues and why you have like even what you see in people living in highbrow areas is those who live there at, say for instance, just a street for them to enter their gated estates. There's a market that is set up just to provide services for these people. So thank you. Okay, thank you for unpacking so much in that question. I'm going to come to Mr. Ushi Faso now, and what I'm going to be asking you, sir, is really around how do you see a situation where you are able to bring the street traders in an organized manner? so that we can actually help so that we can address the issues that we have seen around street trading. It's a known fact. We already know for fact that they're contributing to nuisance.
Okay.
So we're having a bit of, okay.
Yeah, good afternoon. The lecture delivered by Adebawale is intellectual as well as representing the actual event that is happening right there on the spot. Without wanting to belabor the participants, I think the issue of street trading that we discussed is not actually the act of just moving. It's an act of some that are stationary, and the negative impact actually outweigh whatever economic importance in terms of GDP or whatever as a source of product marketing. The impact on the environment, the impact even on that themselves, that is the negotiations, are overwhelming. We have been engaging the organized setting because the street workers, those ones that you find on the go, they are ruthless and all.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Because your bandwidth.
We try to seek audience with some added value.
Mr. Ushi Faso. Yes, can I ask that you? I can hear you, sir, but your network is you're coming in and out. We're losing you. Can I advise that you turn off your video so that it strengthens your bandwidth? I don't know if you heard me. Okay. Mr. Ushi Faso. Okay, we're moving to Dr. Adebayo. I think we've lost him there.
We can continue.
Yes, sir. Okay, Dr. Ayobade, what I'd like you to shed more light on is, I know that you're really involved in this, and would you say that patronizing street traders would be a more convenient option than the other formal forms of trading and services in terms of monetary value for citizens of Lagos? Because I've just quickly glanced through the chat menu, and someone has made a comment about being able to afford goods to purchase goods at more affordable rates. So I just want you to speak to that about patronizing street traders. Would it be a more convenient option than other formal forms of trading in terms of monetary value and services? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Yewande. Patronizing street traders actually helps in relieving government of their pressure of unemployment, pressure of poverty, pressure of lack and hunger, because we are not actually controlling birth the way we should control birth. So we give birth anyhow. And the number of people we are giving birth to must also be taken care of. And if you are not taking care of them, they are taking care of themselves through informal businesses. And when they are into these informal businesses, what we can do to assist them is to regulate them. I'm very sure that if governments actually put in place some markets, as in local markets, recognize local markets within their environment, so that they will not be aiming aimlessly, roaming aimlessly on the streets. I think they will embrace it, and it has to be affordable. It's not going to be a case like the Joshua market that was given at a very lower price, and now it's not a mega shopping mall that is now outside, that has the price out of the reach of the indigenous owners of the Joshua market. So it shouldn't be, it should be an affordable thing. And actually, it should be a daily thing or weekly payment, not a payment of 2 years and 10 years or outright purchase. No, this is not the way it is done in developed climes. Government should regulate them. Government should get a designated location spread across local governments, whereby people within such communities can easily stroll to and make their purchases. They will get good patronage. We cannot stop this people. These people on the street because they're actually adding value to the state. They're adding value to themselves. They're also adding value to the state by paying levies and taxes. And those tax collection or levy collection can actually be formalized for them, but it has to be within their own reach. Thank you, Yewande.
Thank you, Ma, for shedding light into this. Okay, so Mr. Ushi Faso is back, and Professor Onikwede, I see that you have your hands raised as well. But can I just politely ask that we get to Mr. Ushi Faso first, then we can come back to you. I know that you probably have a rejoinder to that, Prof. So we'll take your comments definitely. But just before we do that, someone had Sidikat Folami here says that this is why someone with real experience should front initiative. Dr. Adibawale is speaking facts. Thank you very much, ma'am. We recognize all of our participants. Very soon, we'll take some of your comments and just to magnify your voices. We know that you're part of the conversation. Thank you so much. Mr. Ushi Faso, you have the floor now. You can speak, sir.
Okay, thank you. It's unfortunate that I've been able to get across or pass this message that I have due to bad network. However, if you try to manage the way I've been able to because of the on and off of the network. Like I said earlier on, we have been engaging the street trader, especially the organized one, that is those ones in the market. You realize that where there is market, you find out that even the activities that are going on outside the market, that's the perimeter sense of the market, is even massive when you compare to what's actually going on in the market. And the reasons are obvious. Some, because of our culture of not wanting to stress and just want to have a quick one by the roadside. And that has encouraged some that even have shops coming outside to come and start displaying and sell their goods. So how do you engage? We call the market associations, and we mandate them that the perimeter phase of their environment is their responsibility, and that is we will do very stakeholder. Officially, we have one that covers Badagry area where market association concerned stakeholders are here to explain the challenges that are being faced by the marketers and what are factors that are responsible for this street trading. So we have been engaged and we continue to do that. Like Dr. said, we are looking for it. But what is more important is that as a responsible government, of which Lagos is, Mr. is just preserving the existing law. And when laws are preserved, issues sometimes do occur. And there's always an opportunity or privilege to review such a thing. I think that is part of the recommendation of Dr. Adeboale. In addition, the issue of creating jobs, I think that's where I have reservation. It is very difficult, if not impossible, for the state government or for someone to ask government to create jobs. I think it's a high time to ask the government to provide jobs for everybody that finds his way into the country. So that is just you have been engaging and you continue to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your comments. Professor Onipade, you have your raise. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Auntie Yewande. The aspect of patronage, let's recall, or let us just remind ourselves that we have a very weak economy, and majority of Nigerians' purchasing power is quite limited, a bit low, small. And because of that, patronage of these small retailers that you find on the streets may be difficult to, reduce, in a way that we may be thinking it should be, because people want to, buy something 15 naira, something 10 naira, to go to a formal market or go to places like ShopRite or all the small supermarkets around. You need some money. So, and these people, it's very easy for them to get something, or maybe on the way back from work, on the go, you find someone that can sell this to you, sell that to you, you pick it up. So patronage, that is a very critical aspect of the whole thing. It's quite convenient. The location is perfect, affordable, and quite affordable, because they break this thing down to smaller units, and so it's easier for them to pick up. So patronage is there because it's convenient, and which is also predicated on the weak economic strength of majority of Nigerians. And that's what I wanted to just contribute to that question, that issue on patronage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to take one live question now. And I'm taking the question from Sedoten Agosa Nikwe. Since it has been, and please, the question is open to all panelist members, so please feel free to jump in on this question. Since it has been established that street trading is a global issue, can you confirm if there are similarities between the impacts, traffic, litters, robbery, or street trading in Lagos and other cities globally? Thank you.
Perhaps I may jump in to reiterate what I have said earlier.
Absolutely, sir.
So street trading is a problem for so many developing and underdeveloped countries. It's also a measure of problem, and I'm not speaking as an academic here. Dr. Ayobade is more competent to speak on this. However, I have experienced street trading in a few countries, and I do know that street trades are regulated. For instance, if you go to Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium, they have what they call the open market, which has designated number of days. Sometimes it's in some places it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In some other places it's Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And also when you go to UK, you go to area of Barking in London, for instance, you have markets that operate Saturday and Sunday. They are right on the street. The traffic is closed for that period. So motorists know that the traffic is closed for that area, and they know the alternative routes to fly. The environmental sanitation is top notch, because right after as the trade is ending, in a less than an hour, you will not say that this was a market. You will not come on Monday morning and find nuisance. You won't find nuisance, litters and what have you. So I dare say that, and of course, since traffic has been regulated, since it's something that everybody knows, issue of traffic congestion is usually not an issue. Also, issue of selling illicit things is not an issue, because as you are trading in those areas, law enforcement is there, both visible and non-visible. Law enforcement is there. If you have issues of people, you don't have issues of people, for instance, hiding behind street trading to rob, or people coming to harass street traders and taking things from them. So there's a lot of proper organization of the things, and I think that speaks to the way we organize our society. Law enforcement has to be effective. And it has to be deliberate and purposeful, which is what is usually lacking in our own environment. So the direct answer I would like to give to that question is that there are places in the world where street trading is properly organized. It helps for inclusive market. Most of the street trade you see in some of those countries are people coming from the hinterlands, from the villages, coming with their wares. So it's an inclusive market. People who cannot afford the shops in London can come from the villages and sell on designated days and in designated areas. And there is law enforcement, there is environmental sanitation, and there is no selling of illicit things. So I think that is why I say that should be our aspiration, not to shut people out of the economic system, but to find a way in which we can address the nuisance associated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Well said. I don't know who else wants to respond to that.
If I may add, Madam Yohandi.
Yes, sir.
I think we should also realize the fact that most of these organized societies, they don't have population problem the way we have in Sub-Saharan Africa and in Nigeria in particular. So if the population is growing the way it's growing, and in fact growing faster than the economic growth, we cannot but have the kind of experiences we are having. Because you have persons who cannot even afford to participate in street trading. So they cannot even, they can't afford to even buy wares and things like that. So what they can do is to just hide behind those who are trading and then start pickpocket here and there to find a way of surviving, because the population is growing so fast, the economy is weak, it's not growing as expected. And also we cannot organize the way the last speaker described it, beautiful, but we cannot afford to organize ourselves that same way here because the population is a problem. Well, maybe because I'm a population scientist, but the fact is the people are the center. So if we don't deal with that aspect, organization of all these things will be quite difficult. Though he said it should be an aspiration. I think it should be an aspiration while we are dealing with our population even now effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I like how you've really touched on population, and I'm going to come back to that. It seems that that is also a contributing factor, and it has to obviously be addressed. So I'm going to come back to that question on population. Mr. Ushi Faso, you have the floor, sir.
Yes. In addition to what I've said, it's obvious, and it's not something we can
Mr. Shifeso, we're losing you. Your audio is coming in and out. Are you there, sir? Mr. Shifeso.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now, but we were losing you prior to now. So I don't know if you would like to just start again. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Like I said the impact, the negative impact of street trading is obvious. So we are not contesting that. But what on the issue of traffic, the impact of street trading, as we all know, is reducing the road capacity. Hence, the traffic is obvious that will generate traffic. Now, at our level, at some places, even right here in Lagos, there are some places where they are carrying out periodic marketing. You go to the Lagos Island, it is being done there, and in Surulere too. Effort in coordinating and regulating this have been subjected to a lot of vices, the miscreants and all that. Even, within the law is the local government that is responsible for administration of market and parks. And sometimes in a kind of a state where we have people come up with this issue. I'll give you a scenario why we did
Okay, we've lost him again. Dr. Ayobade, you have the floor, ma.
Thank you so much, Yantia, today. You see, when we are talking of street trading and its regulation, in those clients whereby buyers and sellers were not embarrassed or traumatized by street urchins, it's because they are regulated and they have armed men protecting them there. They have police people, people like civil defense officers protecting both buyers and sellers to the extent that no street urchins will be able to embarrass them. I don't know, maybe you've gone to Lagos Island before and you are surrounded by area boys just to buy one thing or the other. You are being surrounded and you must settle them. I don't know, maybe you've experienced that. I've experienced that. You have to pretend as if you are a military man's wife that is calling your husband to arrest before they let you go. That, oh, no, you know, just like when you see something like that, you cannot experience something like that because they are protected and they are regulated. They are permitted to be there in those days that they are permitted to be there. But in this place, we have nothing like that. And that's why the state government has to come in, give it serious regulation, and you find out that they will make more money than what they are making now. They'll make more money through street traders than what they are making presently, because a lot of these their levies are going into the wrong pockets presently. All these street urchins and robbers that are embarrassing and stealing from people trading on the street will not be there when government comes in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Professor Onipede, I'm coming to you now on the issue of population. And I know that you have experience in this. How do you think that Lagos, I mean, we already know that the migration level into Lagos is it's over the roof. And how do you think that Lagos can begin to check this? Because the migration is also contributing to the informal sector, and Lagos is probably one of the reasons why Lagos is largely an informal sector because of the rate of migration, and these people are unable to fit into the formal system. How do you think that we can check this problem? Because definitely it's a problem. Infrastructures are being stressed at the moment, and those who are even taxpayers are unable to even access good services, whatever reason or the other. What do you say to this, sir?
Thank you, Ma. Well, it's a difficult thing to advise any government in Lagos State on, because it's a federal country, it's a country. And if you want to say you want to start restricting migrants from coming to Lagos, you will kind of evoke all kind of social and political, crises here and there. But I think it's something that should be addressed nationally. Though the government is trying, Lagos State is trying the aspect of family planning, the aspect of population control. But if it's nationally addressed and we're able to check population, natural population growth through birth, and we have less people, trying to find their way into Lagos. That's one. Then two, it's also something that has to be done nationally by improving the strengths of the economy. Because if the economy is stronger, and then you have all over state capitals in Nigeria that they can accommodate at least maybe about 60, 70% of young people that are leaving the secondary schools, leaving the primary schools, they are not likely to say they must come to Lagos. So that is the national angle. Now, with respect to Lagos State, I think this last trial registration of all these are fantastic policies that through that, we can be okay, these are people that are in Lagos State doing legitimate business, residents, also then they can engage them in how can these people be engaged in terms of skill acquisition and all that, and reduce the pressure most of these people constitute on the streets. But for anybody to say, okay, restrict migrants, that will create problem for any Lagos State government. So that's where I think we can do it. And it has to be gradual. We have to do it gradually. Otherwise, we also create other social problems. and political problems for the government. So that's the way I think we can look at that aspect of population being a problem in contributing factor in street trade.
Thank you, sir, for this response. Mr. Egbabu, I come to you, sir. We know that the number of people who are involved in street trading, we see that children are gradually increasing on the streets. Out of school children is increasing, and that's a completely different conversation that we can have for another hour or two. But what I'm going to ask you is, should there be a justification for underage street trading? And I'm saying this because I know that you are a human rights activist. So underage street trading, what do you have to say to that? Is there any justification for it? Should this be disengaged at all levels? Your comment, sir.
All right, thank you. And this, of course, brings me back to what I've insisted on, that we have to decide what we want as a society. What kind of society do we want? And whatever it is that we decide we want, we are going to get there only by law and order. We have to have appropriate laws and we have to enforce those laws. There can some people will give a plethora of excuses why kids are on the streets. But I do not think that any excuse that will perpetuate an act that will make that act to be perpetuated indefinitely is good enough an excuse. So it's not only children trading that we see on Lagos streets, we see children begging and all of that. And we all seem to turn the other side. And the fact is that kids involved in street trading, kids involved in begging, they are going to get to a certain age that they can no longer do those activities, and they still have need for money. And they're going to have to find this money somehow. And so we are in a vicious cycle. So to be more pointed about my response, there cannot be any justification for underage. Yes, you can have a situation where kids come back from school and they are part of the commerce of their parents. But it's not going to be in a situation where you put pure water or granules on a kid and ask them to go on Mobolaji Bankansoni Road and be running after them. That's criminal. And this is why I keep insisting that we need to, or maybe perhaps also we need to be more specific when we are discussing street trading. We know that there are different genres of street trading, but perhaps if we want to focus more on the most nuisance part of it, which is the one done in traffic trading. And you will see that when we start to unbundle traffic trading, we'll see a lot of nuisance involved. And even the human rights argument will become pale when you look at the ill that it does to society. For instance, I've mentioned about people selling drugs, and I don't mean even illicit drugs. I mean medications, pharmaceutical drugs that you are supposed to buy on doctor's prescription. People sell them along this in traffic. People sell a lot of fake things in traffic. And then now you are now compounding with the issue of children running after vehicle in traffic. That cannot be excused under any circumstance. So I think that is where law enforcement needs to come in. And of course, when you look at most of the things that are being sold, a lot of, I've not done the statistics, but I can say that quite a number of things that are being sold are properly branded things. So it means that these traffic traders, for instance, they are like a downline, a distribution downline for many big brands. And we can start enforcement even from that level. Beyond that, if you see any major traffic corridor where there is trading, there is a cabal behind it. I don't know if Dr. Ayoba, they saw this in their research. There's always a cabal behind it. And through this cabal, if we can decriminalize and find a way to bring in some measure of governance, then we can reduce the nuisance, ensure the inclusiveness, and find a way to, integrate these people properly in a way that benefits society, benefits the economy, and also benefits those who are forced to do that. And like I said, our aspiration should be to have trading in properly designated areas. Thank you.
Dr. Ayobade, you see that you have your hand raised up.
Yes, yeah. Street trading by children is very, very rampant. In our days, they do street trading to train us, to educate us how to do arithmetic and mathematics. But these days, parents use it to, they turn the children to breadwinners of the family, where their children are being threatened, if you don't work, you will not eat. That wasn't what it was meant for them. But parenting is gradually failing in our society. The parents are not living up to expectation, transferring their responsibility to the children to work for them. I conducted a study on children's street trading in Lagos in 2009. And what we discovered was mind-boggling. Children were virtually the breadwinners. They go to school in the morning, come back to work in the evening. And if they don't work, they will not be fed. So it is very, very sad. And to go back to what the last speaker said, yes, there are a lot of agents that are bringing street traders to Lagos State. They will hire a room and might put up to 20 traders in one room. We met one like that in Agidingbi area of Lagos State, that they came from Ebonyi. And every day they must contribute XYZ amount to this agent on daily basis till they meet up with the amount of money that such agent might have given to them to meet up with before they gain their own freedom. We have a lot of agents in Lagos State bringing beggars and street traders to Lagos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Clearly, there is so much to unpack in this conversation, and it's even unearthing a lot of other issues that we're not even probably aware of as a government. So there are probably forms of human trafficking in this and human slavery in this as well, because if some group of people are having to stay in a particular room and paying an agent for one thing or the other just to meet their survival, then that's really mind-boggling. Thank you so much. Now we are going to take live questions from our participants. So if you can please unmute yourself and ask your question. Mr. Shakiru Ayodele, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please, I've been following the webinar from the beginning, and I would like to make some comments on what Ms. Ayobade said with regards to street trading. Quite all right. Sometimes you see law enforcement officers picking them up, arresting them for stuff like that. But then I think the law has a lot of things to contribute towards deterring these street traders from going back on the street. Because to me, I don't for street trading, and then he goes over to face the court and all that, and they are giving life sentences. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Some of them are giving community service that they probably don't even perform fully. And then at the end of the day, you feel, okay, you are caught by KAI or any law enforcement officer, and then you just do probably 2 hours community service. You can risk that because you know the next day you go back and you get caught, you probably just do another 2-3 hours community service. They are not deterred. And then with regards to what Mr. in Lagos already, if you go to some certain areas, like I know of Surulere, I know of some area around Kwangu, around the Korodu Road, there is a road. Every Sunday, it is always closed. Farm produce people that come from neighboring states, on Sundays, they take over the whole of that street for their business activities. So I think the government is doing probably enough. But the only main issue which cannot be controlled is the highway hawking. You see boys that they probably, most of them run away from the village with the promise of having a better life in Lagos. So no matter if you catch them and then they go to court, they're giving life sentences and all that, they tend to end up going back to the street because that's the only thing they can see them doing.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comment. Thank you, sir, for your comments. I don't know if any of the panelists has a comment to this, or shall we take the next question from the live participants? Okay, we don't have any other panel question, any live question again. Thank you so much, our panel members.
Yeah, I do have a contribution there.
Okay.
Yes. I think I remember Aswani Market then, where we do have, you know, where they get to cover the whole street, and I'm not sure if that's still placed though. But I think government need to do more. When we talk about street trading and, you know, young children trading as well, there are so many things government need to do. Mr. Arikbabu was talking about Deptford. I'm not sure. Well, maybe there is the one I know in the UK, Deptford Market, where you normally close the street. There are days for certain hours that you can just, you know, come and display your wares. And that on its own, I felt that can also be replicated in Lagos as well, where you kind of close up. And that's the reason why I brought up Aswani Market, where days that, you know, you bring in your wares, you share your waste on that day, and the whole street is covered up. So if government can, you know, can encourage that in certain areas in Lagos, that will help curb street trading as well. Not only will it curb street trading as well, it will also, you know, discourage children from going for trading as well. I think the major thing we need to focus on in Lagos is that the one when there is traffic, where you sell in traffic, that's the one we really need to focus on and see how we could curb that and reduce that. I think that's what Lagos State needs to do and focus on. But as regards street trading, maybe they can just, you know, do more, maybe like look at Surulere, see where they can pick in Surulere and cover the street, and they can do all like Mushin, Agege, you know, that kind of that. They should have days that those ones will be able to come up. But the one on the traffic, on the highway, that's the one we should focus on and see how that could be coped. And not only that, you know, at times when the law enforcement officer do catch these people and they bribe the officer, they let them go, and it's repeats itself. It's a repeated cycle. I mean, it keep happening that way. So I don't know what Mr. Lasisi and team and Dr. Adebowale as well, we do as regards that and how that could be curbed. That's just my own 2 cents.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All the comments, all the recommendations are being collected, and we will put the information out in some medium.
Hello, ma. Can I add something to this highway? Yes. Okay. Thank you, ma. I observed, you know, I've been, you know, taking my time to do some kind of critical thinking on the highway trading in Lagos State, which you don't find in most other capital cities or state capitals or states in Nigeria. And I observed that most of the roads in Lagos State are too narrow. The highways are narrow, and that's one, they are narrow. So why they were designing those roads, they weren't conscious of population explosion as a result of natural increase or migration. That's one. Two, the roads are narrow. There you have potholes here and there, you know, one problem there, one problem there. So sometimes I used to think maybe some of those potholes are even deliberately, you know, created on the roads so that they'll be able to slow down traffic, and then highway traders and all that can also have their way. So I think the two things are very important. The roads, we need to enlarge, or if possible, yes, maybe to some extent, let's enlarge the roads so that they can accommodate the increase in vehicular movement. That's one. Then secondly, there is need for Lagos State government to do what is practiced in better, you know, let's say organized societies, where if you see a pothole today, in this evening, by tomorrow morning, in America, for instance, by tomorrow morning, everything will be over. Most part of Europe, you will not see a pothole lasting for 2-3 days. So if you see one today, deal with it before tomorrow morning is free. So there will be free movement of vehicles. And if you have free movement of vehicles, then it will be very difficult for anybody to come and, you know, hang around the highway to say, I want to sell.
to a passerby. I think that may also add value to the effort of Lagos State government in addressing highway street trading. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I may, please.
Can I ask that you hold your thoughts, sir? Mr. Shakiru is, Mr. Ushi Faso is speaking through Mr. Shakiru, so he has his hands raised, so you can speak, sir. Mr. Ushi Faso, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for the network issue, like I said. On the issue of periodic and traders, especially those ones that are on the streets. Like I want to paint a scenario. Somebody that works in the island and lives somewhere like Igodo. Invariably, we prefer to get to the vicinity of its residence before purchase of any goods, especially domestic items. So all these are been encouraging this trading that is going on and on in the state. The government, especially the local government, as we have been engaging them, I think they should come up with the alternatives that we have been suggesting to address this issue of street trading. However, what the local governments are actually interested in is revenue generation. You find out that most of those street traders who are in fact loitering on the street, especially between the decision of market, are paying daily. They are paying daily for the space they are occupying. And anytime our men are there to carry out enforcement, they usually meet resistance. What is trending now is that the union are also involved in allocating space for street traders. All these are factors that have not been existing in the past, but are starting raising its head due to lack of consistency in enforcing street trading. So I think the local government and stakeholders, like the agency, like us, that are responsible for enforcing street trading, to come together and agree and make a statement. Please note that the difference between the developed and developing is the establishment of law and order. If we can't enforce these laws, if we can't carry out those laws as stated in the Constitution or as enacted in the bylaws, invariably there will always be challenges. On the issue of the Constitution, both the giver and the taker are equally guilty. But most of the time, what we face is that the society always wants a way of bypassing. And the agency has made a statement on this too, that when money from you should report. You have our line that goes round, but we find out that most of the people that are alleging, when it comes to come and testify, nobody. So the issue of compromise is there. So thank you. That is what I just have to say for now.
Thank you very much, sir. We hear you loud and clear. There is a need for stakeholders collaboration. Yes, thank you, sir. So we hear you loud and clear. Definitely what you have highlighted, and that what is very germane here for the government is stakeholder collaboration, even between the state government and the local government and all stakeholders who are involved. From what you have said, it's also important that each stakeholder's needs should be prioritized and mapped so that we can see where the meeting points are to be able to understand each other's needs, because invariably it's sounding like a lot of people, different people have different varying needs and what they hope to achieve here. I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Lasisi.
Thank you very much. I just want to bring another dimension to it, probably for Mr. Ushi Faso and the enforcement team, the various enforcement in Lagos State. I don't see any reason why people should buy or patronize street trading on Tomiland Bridge. I don't see any reason why people should patronize street traders on Lekki Expressway. Yes, Prof said, we know Lagos, we have a small landmass. We don't have the luxury of having our road very wide. So if KAI and all the law enforcement agency can use technology, let's try to modernize the way we enforce. I see people, I stay in Lekki as this, and I see people with cars that are over millions, 3, 4, 5 million naira worth of cars, parking, even standing in the middle of the road, wait in the middle of the road to buy granite. The orientation, the psychology of the elite, it's even contributing to the problem. Installing body camera can help you to trace these people. You know their cars, they are registered in Lagos. We can find them in their houses. We can find them in their houses. If you, on the Tomiland Bridge, there are unipoles, there are posts on Tomiland Bridge, put cameras on them. Any vehicle that is patronizing street talkers, get the picture of the plate number, harass them, go to their various houses, arrest them. The law, we just have to put a new dimension into the way we enforce street trading. We cannot say because people are doing things. I wake up every day and we see people get knocked down because of street traders. There was an accident that happened before Chevron. It was caused by street traders, about 5 vehicles killing kids because a street trader was about running across the road and the driver decided to meander his hand, all other vehicles. So we can't wait for situation to get worse. We just have to bring new dimension into the way we work. So if KAI can collaborate with LASTMA, Lagos State government is using a lot of camera for vehicle enforcement. Let's also use those cameras for enforcing people who are patronizing street traders on the highway. It is not, you can't be doing, allowing street trading on Tomiland Bridge in a mega city like Lagos. It is not done. It is not, it can't be accepted. So let's try and modernize the way we carry out our enforcement. Okay, we don't want to stop people in Lagos Island. We don't want to stop people around Teju Market. But we can stop people who are patronizing street traders on Lekki Expressway. We can stop people who are patronizing street traders on Tomiland Bridge. My two Lagos Apapa Expressway is dualized now. And every little time you have small traffic, traders will be there. Let's start taking pictures. We have a lot of data. Lagos State have access to data. We have access to SIM card data. We have access to, let's collaborate with federal government. If you commit offense, we take your picture. We wait for you till the day you want to get something important. We ask you to pay the fine. This will shop up the revenue of Lagos State. Thank you, just my contribution.
Perhaps I may be allowed to jump in at this point. Am I allowed?
Absolutely, sir, you can.
Yeah, yes, please. So I'm going to quickly respond to Mr. Lassisi's comments. And I am for law enforcement. Seriously, we need to enforce laws and we need to change elite psychology, like he has said. However, I'm thinking that there are cheaper ways of, because we don't want people to commit. You see, the first responsibility of state is actually to make things work. And then secondly is to deal with those who will not make it work. Not allow people not to make it work and then deal with them. So I think that in major areas, like you have said, 4 or 5 law enforcers placed there on a regular basis can stop the act from happening in the first place, rather than for us, tracing people who commit this. Because if we allow it to continue and we see it from a revenue generation model, the nuisance will not abate, and that needs to happen. And I was going to also respond when Professor Nikwede was mentioning about Lagos. I wanted to say that perhaps he has not been to Maryland. He has not been to Bank Anthony Way, where the road is not necessarily narrow and where there are no potholes. It's just that the slightest traffic, like Mr. Lassisi said, street traders jump on the road and start to apply their trade. So what needs to happen is that first we need to enforce the laws. If we don't want, we started this from an inclusion perspective, that we don't want to exclude people from the economics. Yes, we put that at the back of mind, but we also know that when you slow down traffic, when you create traffic nuisance, when you create accident, you deplete our common resources. Everybody become underachievers. People are not able to meet up with their targets. They are not able to meet up with their appointments. People miss out on opportunities. So there are certain areas that will not allow for a street trade to happen. But I am saying that we can come from merely, you see, law enforcement should first be deterrence to prevent the offense from happening. And then afterwards, we can then, take actions on those who commit this. So I'd like to make some other intervention, but let me just stop for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Ushi Faso wants to speak. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you for that. Mr. Lafisi has spoken.
Are you there, sir?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear me. Yes.
Yes, like I said, enforcement is expensive. Putting all machineries and both human and materials to carry out an enforcement, especially in a cosmopolitan places like Lagos, we are virtually, when you're talking of traffic at Ikorodu Road, you are as well talking along Ikorodu Road, and whether how many personnel do we need to be deployed to that. I think what is suggested is good, but there are still, what Alice said, I key into it as well. What is it is that let us see how we can do a preventive measure first. While the defiant will be punished. So how do I mean? Let us start thinking of alternatives. Where if you are traveling a long distance, you can have a small place where you can park and do little shoppings you want, and then keep moving. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, you're still on,
okay.
Sir.
Okay. What I'm saying is that we should dwell more on alternatives than enforcement. Any art that will encourage people from not violating or patronizing street trade. You know, when the law was initially enacted, it was to punish the traders themselves. When you now realize, it takes you to tango. When you say that, because when there is a sell, even when there is a buyer, then when we talk about the sell as well, and that when the issue of the buyer and the sell are party that must be punished. So what I'm saying is that let us see how we can develop an alternative, where we can develop alternatives to street trading, both along the way. Even the commercial buses that we are seeing, even the commercial buses, especially the large buses, you see people from large buses patronizing hawkers. If buses, big buses like that can have something that people that are passengers in the vehicle can get, like soft drinks or something, and get it in the vehicle. All they need is that they purchase those things there. The waste are dropped there in the vehicle there, and they know there won't be the need for them to litter the roads while they have exhausted the content of the product they have bought. I think that is, in addition to what Mr. Lassisi have just said, is a good one, but I think there's a need for us to develop more alternatives, then followed by punishment. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Ushi Faso.
I'm with you.
That is the conversation. You just made mention now that lag boss, you have evidence that some lag boss people, and when you have that, let your staff take the picture. Send the evidence to management of lag boss. Lag boss, okay. Your vehicles are passengers inside your vehicles are patronizing hawkers. So anybody that is coming that want to enter lag boss management will have told them, if you enter our bus and you patronize hawkers, there are cameras inside lag bus, we will be fined and you will be prosecuted. When we start doing that, both the money, because any vehicle, any lag bus vehicle that allow its bus to be used to patronize hawkers, your agency has the right to seize that vehicle and has the right to fine them. So if you find lag bus will be able to produce the passenger because they have camera installed in those buses. So we need to start taking action. And that is what this thing is all about. Taking action and let people be responsible for their acts.
Sorry, a quick one to add to what Mr. Ladisa just mentioned. If we put 100 KAI officers anywhere, as long as the issue of corruption remains the level it is, nothing will happen. So we need to deal with the issue of corruption, the issue of character. We have character problem in this part of the world. Let's deal with that, deal with corruption, and we see the society working. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ayobade, we take the final comment from you and we bring the panel session to a close. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yewande. On the issue of personnel and camera, Lagos State government have wherewithal to install cameras to arrest defaulters. If Lagos State can be arresting vehicle owners with cameras on your expiration, document expiration, and you are fined and you cannot ply the road without you coming for inspection and all those things and everything, Lagos State have what it takes without putting any personnel on the road. They don't need any personnel to effect whatever policy that Lagos State is sent them to implement. They will do it. They have what it takes to do. I have fallen a victim of document expiration without me knowing that it expired about 2 days before, and I drove that I crossed the Ikorodu road. My plate number was snapped and I paid fine. And I didn't get roadworthiness until I paid everything. I went for inspection, spent hours there. Will I ever do that? On a monthly basis now, I check my document to be sure that it's not going to expire because I don't want to find a victim again. So also, in the implementation of street trading policy, let us create designated locations. After doing that, then the policy can be, violators can be arrested. And not only that, we need state orientation agencies. State orientation agencies in the area of street trading and patronage. If we have an agency that will make serious advert, show us pictures of where street traders have caused serious accidents leading to people's deaths and everything, gradually we'll be changing our orientation. When we'll be keen into, we won't violate the law again. We just need to be reminded that we are in the 21st century mega city, not in the colonial city of Lagos of 1960. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. I see that Mr. Egbabu's hand is up. I said Dr. Ayobade was the last comment, but we can take your comments in 2 minutes or less. Thank you. Would appreciate that, sir.
Is that for me?
Yes, it's for you, sir. In 2 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just want to appeal that we are practical about the solutions. So cameras and all of that would definitely help. But it's not. It's because it's as if we are assuming that it's only vehicle owners or vehicle drivers that commit these infractions, and it's not real. It's not so. And that's why you find that it's difficult for last man and the rest of them to arrest. For instance, downfall drivers. And people committing downfall in Lagos a lot. And they commit all of these environmental infractions. So let's be pragmatic. We are going to use a combination of strategies. And part of it, you see, when we even install cameras in strategic places and then put law enforcement people there, if because of corruption they refuse to do their work, the cameras will reveal. If somebody is head of a particular sector and we still find that there is traffic nuisance due to street trading, by the time we make examples of people, by the time top people are sacked for such negligence or such incidents, then you will see people below the line who are starting to perform a portfolio of strategies. And the last thing I would like to I like to say, because we started all of this from the point of view of inclusion. And we know that there are cabals behind some of these things. So 2 things I'd like to quickly say. One, the big brands that are being marketed on the street, they should also be part of the solution, because they are benefiting from the nuisance that is plaguing all of us. That is one. Secondly, is that perhaps the areas where we allow people to, do street trading, whatever kind of street trading it is, we should also encourage them to unionize or to have body of representation so that they can also be part of the enforcement of laws in those areas. We cannot continue to have indiscriminate street trading. Don't let us run away from it. People who sell around Maryland, when they are pressed to answer the call of nature, whether major or minor, they're going to do it somewhere nearby. They're going to do it behind the bus stops, the bus shelters that have been provided for people. So you sit under those places and the air pollution will not allow you to stay. So we need to deal with the issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all our panel members. We definitely have had a very interesting conversation here, and I hope that the audience also have enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. Thank you so much. And on a final note, my parting words with everyone would be that behavioral change is probably the hardest thing that we have to address, as hard as it might seem, but that would be the starting point to address this plethora of issues. Even the conversation is beginning to divert into environmental issues, and that was even the beginning of the conversation. We've touched on diversity, inclusion, and equity, and these are all issues that have to be addressed. So stakeholder collaboration will be very germane to addressing this issue, because we obviously have seen that they have cross-cutting areas and they have points of interest where they can obviously harness their efforts and build on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and also see the opportunities that resides in these issues. Once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been part of this conversation since 4 p.m. We promised that we'll be rounding up at the top of the hour. We didn't want to break the conversation short, and that's why we have prolonged this this conversation till now. Mr. Lasisi, you have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, our moderator, and we thank you for all our panelists for having a good discussion. However, let me just make a little comment about what people are writing in the chat box. A lot of people, we need to look at having a good road network and transportation due to help reduce street trading costs. There will be traffic reduction. You know, we keep on talking about traffic. If you go to China, there's traffic in China, but they don't do street trading there. So, like Mr. Rugbabu said, we need a lot of social reorientation in Nigeria. Anything that we are doing bad in Nigeria, people will always want to justify infrastructural decay. Our leaders are bad. There's this, because Nigeria is bad. That's why people are importing cocaine. That is why leaders are bad. That does not mean you should be engaging in illicit drug. No, we should stop justifying things in this part of the world. Let's, as citizens together, let us face it and face the right thing. Before we go for the final conclusion, we would like to announce the winners of our various anniversary gifts, and we had a quiz. We had quiz running for a month, so we'll do that in the next few minutes before we round up the program. Thank you all for joining us. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we would be announcing the winners for our quiz, and so our quiz winners are Temilola Oluseyi, who came first, followed by Adebosola Ogunwale, Oladimeji Beyoko, Adam Sylvester Adebayo, and Oluwatoyin Yusuf. These are the winners for our quiz competition, and our first winner is walking away with a gas canister, while the other winners leave with a thermal cup and a notepad. Thank you for participating in our quiz. Our next set of winners are those who registered early, And these are Adilakun Idris, Omodara Olubumi, Temiloluwa Fadaunsi, Oluwa Folabomi Fadaunsi, and Wakilat Idowu. And they all will be walking away with an umbrella and a succulent. Thank you. For those who logged in, our early participants to log in are Adibosola Ogunwale, Galaxy A12, Ramat Anifoshe, Sedoten Anikwe, and Aderoju Akinola. You also will be walking away with an umbrella and a succulent. Thank you so much for joining in early. And now we are having a star prize. Mr. Lasisi, do you want to do the raffle draw before we announce the star prize? We can't hear you. You've muted yourself, sir.
So the raffle draw is based on the number of people that are registered and the number of people that logged in and stay till the end of the program. So if you are part of the people that logged in earlier and you are able to be part of the program till this moment, let's see how lucky you are. You can see the draws inside. So let me pick one. I think you can you see very well?
No, sir. Do you want to just read out the name?
Omodara Olubumi.
Okay.
Omodara Olubumi, that's the winner.
Okay.
For the raffle draw.
And we have another raffle. Another star prize winner would be Mrs. Atoki, who has been our most consistent participant since the beginning of this, since we started this initiative last year. So thank you to all our participants. We are deeply grateful, we're very grateful for staying with us till this, walking this journey with us, and we didn't even think that we'll get this far. Thank you, and you are the ones who help to promote this initiative. You encourage us also. We're really grateful for your support and your consistency, and this also helps to drive our momentum. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There's a poll on now. If you can help us to take part in the poll, and let's see how far we have moved for today's activity. The poll is on. Should there be total ban on street trading? Let's just do a small review of the participants available and see. We're still on. Thirteen of the participants, 14 of the participants. Should there be total ban of street trading in Lagos State? As at now, 18 of the participants, we have 32% saying yes, 68% saying no. We still have 32% saying yes and 68% saying no. I'll end the poll in just 2 minutes. Let's see if we still have other people who wants to take part in the poll.
While you're doing that, sir, I see that Galaxy A12 is still on. Please just send a message to the panelists so that we can identify you, and all the prize winners should contact the organizers of Eko EnviroTalk so that we can arrange how you get your gift items. Thank you.
So we hand the polls, and the result shows 32% of participants says we should encourage the ban of street trading, while 68% says no. So which means we are all considerate. We don't want the issue of street trading ban in Lagos, but we just want it modified and reorganized like other developed world. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking part in the polls. I think we've come to the end of the anniversary edition. On behalf of the management and staff of Eko EnviroTalk, we want to thank all our panelists, Professor Ayobande, Dr. Ms. Ayobande, we thank you. Professor Onipede, we thank you. Mr. Arigbabu, Bruno, thank you very much. Mr. Ushi Faso, thank you also for taking your time to be part of this. It's our contribution and efforts to make the state better, and we'll continue to have that. Another thing we will be doing in the next, before the end of the year, is we want to have a podcast, and we'll be sending a survey to most of the participants to help us to choose which topic is very, very germane to us in Lagos State, so that we do a podcast on it. So we want to move away from webinar. We want to start engaging each other very well using this platform. And a lot of people are also saying, why are we only focusing on environmental issues? Let us focus on other issues that has to do with Lagos State and has to do with Nigeria. And that's what we'll be doing. In the next few days, we'll be sending a post to you, everybody, to help us pick which topic is germane to us for us to do in Lagos State in the next few days for our polls, for our podcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a very nice evening. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, sir.